We have with us Mrs. Shivangi Sharma, Ms. Sakshi Bansal, and Mr. Anmol Rana. Yes, the introduction is going to take a little long because we have three panel members today. However, trust me on this that their introduction is not worthy missing out. So please be with us before we begin with the session. Mrs. Shivangi completed her MBA Entrepreneurship from California State University, Long Beach, and MSc Psychology HRDM from Christ University, Bangalore. She has experience in UX research, facilitating focus groups, organizational development, curating customized training and development programs for corporates. Recently, she has launched a startup and the name is Psy Squared, with a vision to train young psychologists in the making through skills enhancement, workshops, and mentoring. We welcome you. We also have with us Ms. Sakshi Bansal. Sakshi Bansal is the founder of Leap India organization and is a UNESCO kindness leader. She finished her master's in MSc work and organizational psychology from University of Nottingham, United Kingdom. And currently, she works as a psychometric consultant in London. She graduated in 2019, and that's when she started working. We also have Mr. Anmol. Mr. Anmol has completed his MSc Psychology and HRM from Christ University. He has an experience in career counseling, end to end recruitment, assessment centers, leadership training, and OD. Currently, he's working with Inspire One Consultants in e learning domain. It is really a pleasure to have the three of you on board, and I'm so sure that there's so much of insight you would be able to add in. I know them both professionally and personally, so I could not think of any other people besides the three of them when it came to thinking about the panel members for this webinar. All right. So the first question goes to everyone. How did you all land in the psychology field and tell us about your respective jobs or ventures?
First of all, Bhumika, thank you so much for that introduction. Really humbled by it. And hi, everyone. Really glad to be here. My name is Sakshi, as you've heard, and I work currently as a consultant in London. Bhumi, your question. So, how I ended up in psychology? Well, psychology was always like a plan B for me. So I did my undergraduation in University of Delhi. I was almost like a plan B. I only did psychology just because I was supposed to go into civil services, was preparing for that since I was a kid. And I took one class of social psychology and I realized, you know what, this is it. Like, this is such a good topic. My teacher was amazing. She was more like a super professor for me. So I took up a lot of interest in that. Started doing some research on my own. Started doing some reading some books on my own, and I realized actually if I really want to go into OB, which is what we call it in India, I might not be able to do it there. So usually what happened with us was that there was only one person who used to do OB. So the entire class used to be divided in clinical and counseling, and you would have that one person doing OB, and you would have to run around them from your seniors list and ask them, how do you do it? What do we do? Where do we apply? And the answers that I got, I wasn't really satisfied with them. So I ended up doing a bit of my own research, coming to the UK, and then that was it. Just did my master's in organizational psychology, and now working as a consultant.
That's an amazing introduction, and the reason that we are asking them to share their journeys in the beginning because all three of them, according to me, have really made a mark in their respective fields. So I really think because a lot of questions are coming from the students today who are wondering where to go and what to do. And when it comes from somebody who has made a mark in the field, it's very important to know their journeys, and that's where you'd also be sort of following that path, or at least be able to understand that okay, this is how we can curate our respective paths. So thank you so much, Sakshi. Anmol, what about you?
Yes. So, hi everyone. I hope you all are safe and doing well. And thanks for joining us in such, crucial times. Thinking about when everybody is talking about disruption, unemployment, and all these things. People have a lot of pressure nowadays in the corporate world. So, this is the time you can invest on yourself. And I think you have taken your first step joining this webinar, investing in your career. So, like Bhumi said, like I did my masters from Christ University in psychology and human resource management, and you will be glad to know that I did my BTech before this, and it was an accident to join this field because I did career counseling. I joined career counseling firm with Bhumika, and we counsel people there. I got to know about psychology, psychometrics, and how different things work. And then I plan to join this master's course in psychology and HRM, and I'm glad I did that. And currently I'm working with a firm which deals with leadership development, organizational development, and e-learning as a whole. And in that firm I take care of their e-learning and blended learning solutions. So that's a bit of an intro about me. And going forward, I might explain the whole my journey as well as the experience I have gained through this journey.
Okay, Anmol, I just wanted to ask you one question. Who is this
Yes.
amazing person who guided you to take up human resource psychology? Who I don't remember who is this amazing person.
I think her name was Bhumika only.
Oh. Good, good, good.
Yeah,
What a direction, man. I think I'm a
yeah,
good
yeah.
career coach, I'm believing.
Yes. He's
Right,
the
okay,
best
right.
career coach.
Thank you. I genuinely loved Anmol's work. We remember cribbing all throughout, but I think one thing that was always common between me and Anmol was the fact that we loved what we do. We loved, and that's what even Meraki means. If you go through this word Meraki, it means when you put your soul, your passion, your creativity, and you put a part of yourself in your work, that's what Meraki means. I think I've always seen Anmol doing that. So irrespective of the fact, we used to wake up 5:30 in the morning. We used to work till 11, till 1 maybe at times. We used to travel like anything, but still there was a part of us who always wanted to do this, be with students, go to schools. So I think that's where Anmol picked up from, and having an engineering guy in the psychology team was always a bliss. Explaining science careers were like, okay, Anmol, now you go ahead. Okay, Anmol, it's computer science, go ahead. Okay, Anmol, numbers, please go ahead. And that's where I would not anyway pitch in. Thank you, Anmol, for joining in. And one of my personal favorites, my own personal mentors, she's been my senior in Christ. She's been my senior in MCM. I wish she was my senior in MBA as well, but that could not happen. So welcome you, Shivangi, as well.
Hi everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening, respectively, according to your time zones. It's really wonderful to be here, and thank you, Bhumika, for having me and all of us here for this session. I am Shivangi Sharma. I have done my bachelor's in psychology from MCM, and and then a very interesting thing happened. So during my bachelor's, I experimented with all the different fields of psychology I could know. So I tried clinical, I tried counseling, and I also tried OB. So I thought by the end of the third year, I would figure out that which specialization I want to take it further. But by the third year, I was equally convinced between counseling and OB. I was like, I love counseling people, and I love being in the corporate. So what should I do next? So for my master's, I applied for TIFF Bombay for the counseling program, and then I applied for Christ for the HR program. The Christ program was relatively new, and TIFF Bombay has a big name for itself in India, especially. And I think some decisions are up to fate and then also your intuition. Instead of picking a big name and institute like TIFF Bombay, I pursued my interest more towards OB, following the footsteps of my dad. So I think that was the biggest life lesson for me at that time, that, at times you do not want to pick a big university name, but rather look into the curriculum that you really want to pursue. And being at Christ has been life changing. I think I wasn't aware about the plethora of passion that Christ can generate in a person, and they really push you to your limits. You want to die also, but then you turn out to be the best version of yourself. So I was unaware of Christ as many North Indians, but being in Bangalore, being in Christ for the 2 years really helped shape me as a professional and as in my own personality. And then further, I think Bangalore, I took a big leap from North India to South India in 2014. And then I took another big leap to the seven seas across and moved to US to pursue my dream of being an entrepreneur. So I'll go into more in the approach of why I picked MSc first and MBA second, and what kind of approach could work for what people. And currently, I have my own venture known as Sci Square India. Whenever I used to take vacation in India, I always had a lot of trouble explaining people what is OB first of all, and then the second, people who wanted to do OB but didn't know how to. So that's how Sci Square happened. And in Sci Square, I train young psychologists about organizational behavior, about research, and other different aspects. So as we go more into the webinar, I'll explain better about my journey through the different experiences that have helped me land here. So over to you, Bhumika.
All right, thank you so much. That was an amazing introduction, and I've already told you that how I got in touch with Anmol and how I got in touch with Shivangi. I would also like to tell you how did I get in touch with Sakshi. So I got in touch with Sakshi via Chinmay, who is the tech head right now, and they both were studying in Nottingham. So I always had a very strong, despite the fact that I was from a typical counseling psychology background, but I always had a very strong inclination towards OB for some reason. And I have a feeling that probably the proportion of the work that I'm doing right now is also part of maybe OB career development, if that falls in it. So I think a lot of us would first of all understand nitty gritty of what the academic looks like, what the course really looks like. Could you break it down for all of us? What is OB? What is HR psychology? What is industrial psychology? So could you just break down the curriculum for us, Anmol?
Yes, yes, sir. So I would like to tell you about our curriculum at Christ University. So we studied a very plethora of subjects. So our course is, you can say, it's a mixture of an MBA HR and a psychology student. So initially we studied about organizational behavior in our first two semesters, which included subjects like leadership development, different theories of motivation, and how different interventions are done at workplace. Secondly, there was a subject called organizational diagnosis or organizational development, in which we learned about the culture transformation of a company. I would like to give you an example currently. So, looking at the lockdown situation, most of the companies are asking their strategists to develop a strategy to develop a digital solution or digital learning platforms for their company. How, as you can see, we all are meeting on different video conferencing platforms, and that has changed our work culture. People are changing their HR policies to make work from home more productive. So these kind of interventions are called OD interventions. And looking at the current situation, most of the leaders are going forward in this direction. So this was one of the subjects we studied. Apart from this, we also studied marketing, finance, accounts, and some of the subjects were related to the clinical and the counseling psychology part, like workplace health issue, mental health issues at workplace. This was one of the subjects. Then we studied coaching also, coaching at workplace, counseling at workplace. So these are the broad topics we studied in our masters.
Why I think that the subject in itself is very important is because of the fact that more than half of a human's life is really going in work, irrespective of the fact whether that's a corporate, whether that's a startup, whether that's any random setup. And I think any random setup would also come in an organization. The fact that because one's life is being spent in that organization, and of course organization is also supporting humans life in terms of aiding finance and everything, it becomes very important to ensure that the entire place has some structure for well-being, has some structure for well-being of not just employees but also the organization. So the subject in itself holds so much importance is what I believe. Thank you, Anmol, for letting us know that how the structure is really there, what the curriculum is really there. I'm sure there will be a lot to add and the list will be endless. So before that, let's quickly move on to this question, and that's going to be answered by Shivangi and Sakshi. How do you think should all the students decide whether they should be choosing clinical, counseling, or OB industrial psychology? How did you also choose the same? But could you please guide our students that how do they go about it, because they get very confused as to which field should they really go ahead with?
Shivangi, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure, I'll go. So I think I have had this discussion with a lot of my students and a lot of my friends. When like I was telling you before, like, different paths come your way. Like you get into both the colleges that you wanted to go, or you both the fields, and then it's up to you to decide what you want to do. So for me, what worked was process of elimination. When I was in my undergrad, I realized out of clinical counseling and OB, clinical was not my cup of tea. I did a clinical internship during my second year of undergrad, and I think that's my tip number one for students. Like during undergrad or even in your masters, try different internships, different experiences, because that's how you will be able to, get a hand of the experience that, okay, this is how the field is and whether it links with you or not. So I did a career coaching internship as well. That really stuck with me. And I think that was my very close call with OB. And then I further decided that I want to take training to more of a corporate level and address the employees as a whole. And then a personal motivation for me was that I have looked up to my dad always. He's a very successful businessman. And the way he deals with the people of his organization, whether it's the employees, whether it's their other partners, is really inspired me. That to look at that, when you invest into the human potential of the company, it really shows up in every way. So I think my motivation, like first would be my dad. And then the second, I think I tried different things and I saw what worked for me and what didn't. And that's how I landed up in OB, and no regrets. I think I picked up the best field for me. It really matches my personality. Over to you, Sakshi.
Interesting, Shivangi. That's really interesting. I have a slightly different approach. So, guys, for me, like I said, I just got into psychology as a plan B, right? So when I realized, okay, I need to take it up seriously as a career, it was more of an elimination method. So when you have an MCQ, you can either choose the right answer or you can eliminate the wrong answers, right? So for me, it was like clinical, not interested, counseling, cannot do. What is left? OB. So that was the kind of approach I took. And then so once I circled on in OB, that's when I started doing a little bit of research and realizing, well, does it align to what I want to do or how I see my career in the future? What I read about OB was, you need a certain kind of personality to be a clinical counselor or a counseling psychologist, and you need a different kind of personality if you want to be in OB. You need to be agile. You need to be able to deal with different situations and scenarios. You tend to work with a lot of different organizations and industries. So if you're not agile, if you're not up to a lot of change, travel is something you do not enjoy that much. You don't want to learn about like finances and other bits and parts of a business. I don't think that OB is something that would come naturally to you, or you would rather, I would say, enjoy it as much. So for me, all these were the aspects of OB that I read. I think two tips for me, and Shivangi, you mentioned like doing internships. That didn't happen for me either. I was not into internships at all. For us, and I know the situation in Delhi is true, you don't get a lot of good internships. The quality of internships and the quality of work that you get in internships is not the best. So I instead had my own startups. So I did my own I started my own NGO when I was in college. I started my own startup when I was in college, which was based on artificial intelligence. So I had these really like different experiences that had nothing to do with psychology, but it had everything to do with my own career, because that really pushed me to understand the fact that it's almost like being an entrepreneur. You understand organizations when you yourself know how to run one, or you're interested to learn how to run one. So I think that was my approach. So first tip is, don't be afraid of doing different things, even if they are not directly related to psychology. Do internships in research, say yes to everything. I did some work with Twitter as well in public policy. I worked with Twitter as well for some time in social media. So I just did different bits of things, but because I'm from psychology, I could bring in things from everywhere. So I think first tip is that. Second, don't just reach out to people in India, because they won't always know necessarily what you could do with a degree. There are amazing people out there on LinkedIn that you can always connect to. Don't be afraid to say, "Hey, I saw your profile. How can I do the same?" Or do you mind sharing some of your experiences with you? So always be up for that, up for a chat, and ask them, how did they do it? What are they doing? What does the industry look like? So I think these are my top tips that I did myself. And I think apart from that, you really need to just sit down with yourself and think, is the field really for you? Don't just go into it, because it's the next 40 years of your life. So really think if you really want to get into it, and then make a decision.
Right. Thank you so much, both of you. And as you very rightly just pointed out that it's next 40 years of your life. So I think be it any career, not just specialization, let's not waste 40 years of your life, because I know every career, every specialization has some struggle attached to it, but you end up loving that career, that profession, or you just still stick to it because of the fact that you love it, because of the fact that it really matches with your personality. So, adding to Shivangi's and Sakshi's point, internships are important despite the fact that internships are something which are little unaccessible, especially in this industry. So that's where people like Shivangi comes in, like how Square is really offering you services, or probably offering you certain catering to the fact that you are being able to understand what does the platform really look like, what does the specialization really look like. And I'm believing that Shivangi is also starting with her online program pretty soon. So I think you should all be in touch with Square. That's there. Second, I think this industry is a lot about networking. A lot about networking. Let's say for example today that you are in touch with Anmol, and you never know what if Anmol's company is really offering an internship. Or same goes with Sakshi. I remember while I was in touch with Sakshi, I got in touch with three different people from the field, and they were like pretty top notch people from the field. And the kind of platforms that they got me in touch with, the kind of people that they got me in touch with in return, it was tremendous. So I think that's where your being active on LinkedIn becomes extremely, extremely important. So that, and also I'm sure that no matter how difficult it is, but if you try and brand yourself in a manner, if you try and put across your profile in a manner, I'm sure there will be certain opportunities. Yeah, but yes, we'll be definitely still talking about the internships bit, because I could see in a lot of questions that thing did turn up for a lot of students. All right. So next question goes like, just give me a moment. Um, what all are the careers in this field? So again, we'll be asking all three of you. We can start with Shivangi, Anmol, and Sakshi. That's how we'll go about it.
So I'll start with my experience, and on a lighter note, I'll start. I hope all of you have seen the movie of Ranbir Kapoor, Rocket Singh, the Salesman of the Year. So in that movie, you might remember a case in which the boss asks Ranbir, to sell me this pen, you know, and he tries his make his own efforts and all to sell the pen. So that is the whole concept of what is called a new recruitment strategy called assessment centers. So assessment centers is a as I told you, new recruitment strategy that is used by organizational psychologists or companies to get better quality candidates. Gone are those days when people used to, in interviews ask you tell me about yourself, ask what is your strength, what is your weaknesses, and people will just rote learn their scripts and just vomit out in front of the HR. And companies realized that this is not the way to go forward. That's why they introduced the concept of assessment centers. So assessment centers is kind of a a recruitment strategy which is divided into 3 to 4 dimensions. It has various structures and activities that I will introduce you. So firstly, it has BEI. BEI stands for behavioral event interviews. So it is based on the theory that any person who has shown pa- success in the past behaviors will also show a success in their future behaviors in the same domain. For example, I choose a competency or a skill of adaptability to change. If I have shown a competency of adaptability to change in the past, then I will also see or show that in the future. This is the main focus area of behavioral event interviews. So how does OB psychologist, play in this role? So you will observe the candidates when someone asks the question, and the questions are like this, like for adaptability to change. Tell me a situation in your life where you were stressed or where you were under pressure and you overcome a challenge. So this is a question, patent question of a BEI for a particular competency. And how to give the answer to this question? You use a STAR methodology. STAR methodology stands for situation, task, action, and results. I think this acronym is self-explanatory. So you need to cover all these methods in while answering the question. And as the name suggests, it's a behavior event interview. The psychologist will, see the non-verbal as or and the verbal cues of the candidate, and then he has to assign marks according to the behaviors he or she shows in that interview. So as a psychologist, you play a very important or quintessential role in this whole assessment process center. Second form of activity which is covered is called a role play. So a role play example is like for adaptability to change is like you go to Domino's to and order a pizza, and you have ordered a pepper paneer pizza, and the when you get the pizza, so there is no paneer in it, and you start shouting, and this is the whole situation. And the candidate is you are appointing the candidate for a sales role, and now the candidate will be the sales manager, and you as an interviewer, will be the customer, and you are shouting at him, you're shouting at him, throwing situations at him, and then you have to analyze the behaviors that he or she is showing. So this is a second kind of an activity where an OB psychologist come in. Third and last form of activity is it's called an activity in the form that I'll ask you to make a tower of cards, cards and tapes, sellotapes. So and after 10 to 15 minutes, it works in a team of 4 to 5 members, and you will be asked to make a tower, highest tower with cards and sellotapes. And after 10 to 15 minutes, I will ask you that now the company has decided that a tower needs to be eco-friendly, and now you can't use tapes. So what will you do? Now as an observer in that interview, you will see the behaviors and the expressions of people. Some people will say, how can we make the new tower? Our hard work has just gone to waste. What we will do? And some people will be in the group that, no, 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 you should keep calm. Some people are calm in that situation, and then they will build a tower. So here you will assess the behaviors of the people. So these are some kind of activities that are, a part of assessment centers. First I discussed is BEI, second is the role play, and third is the activity. So here a lot of work is involved in assessing the behaviors, non-verbal cues of the people, and companies require OB psychologists in this domain for recruitment. So this you can say that it is a newer version of recruitment, and companies are, selecting this as their recruitment strategy to recruit a better quality of candidates. So first career option is this. Second, in my domain, as I am currently working with an L&D, company, so we develop solutions for leadership development. How should be a leader? How so some of the competencies we develop. our agility, adaptability to change. These kind of trainings we give to people to develop their leadership. And what I am currently developing is an app, is a gamified learning app where people learn in if it's called a concept of micro learning. When the information is provided to the learner in bite size, 2 to 5 minutes here, because of, and it is based upon the psychological principle of long term memory, that in 2 to 5 minutes it gets a better retention of our long term memory. So developing these modules for learning, developing these games, a very important aspect of neuropsychology comes in. And organizations need psychologists, you know cater to the needs of learning journeys, to develop these learning journeys on mobile apps using the concepts of gamification and psychology. And most of psychology is in the field of cognitive psychology and behavioral psychology. So these are the two domains I can talk about because I have worked in this field. And if you have any after so this is done, and if you have any questions you can ask in the chat option. Yeah, so over to you, Sakshi.
Shivangi, do you want to go first? I
Yeah.
think that was the order, so.
Okay. Works. So talking about the careers in OB, I would tell a little about my journey and also connect it to the different jobs that you can take up. So I will be talking about research because I think that's my absolute passion. My first experience of corporate research was during my master's. I took up my internship, and it started off as a HR internship, but slowly I expressed my interest to my training head and my HR head that, why don't we do a research project together? So we did a very interesting research project around exit interview analysis and employee satisfaction. So we took research as an intervention to understand like what is the actual reason why some people are shifting. And it was a very groundbreaking research. We were able to bring down the attrition by almost 65% within just the span of 2 months. And that was the first time that I understood the impact of OB in organizations, that, interventions such as counseling and research can really help turn around the employee. So that was my experience in a private organization in the field of research. And then when I moved to the United States to pursue my MBA, along with my master's, I took up a part-time job as a research assistant in a government research center there. So it was the Center for International Trade and Transportation. So bringing my international knowledge, especially of the Asia and India, I was recruited by them. And during my 1 year as a research assistant, I looked into the OB practices in the transportation and trade sector. So that was a great flavor of understanding how research is done in the government sector. I have few friends who are working in the government setup in India as well. So to give a brief idea, the research we do in corporate is more fast, is more numbers driven, and we are able to reach the results more instantly. And then whereas in the government research, the impact is bigger, but also the time frame and, getting funding for your projects and having a lot of team members involved was a different experience. So after having an understanding of how corporate research is done and how government research is done, then I moved to the Silicon Valley. So in Silicon Valley, I worked as a user experience researcher where I combined my knowledge of psychology and management and technology together. So user experience research is also an excellent field for people who are in OB. It involves understanding human behavior with the interaction of technology. And during my 1 year, we designed a lot of mobile apps, a lot of tablet apps and desktop ideas for majorly healthcare companies. So that was my 3-level research experience. So these 3 roles can also be taken up as aspiring OB students or professionals in the field. So research would be one, and another I had to talk about was the learning and development. So I'm into multiple roles, as you could you have already realized. So I have my own venture. I work with companies, and another thing we feel that in India we are so limited to opportunities, especially in the OB field. So my urge is that if your city or if your college is not supporting you with the internships, why don't you start supporting your family businesses? If you have your parents or if you have somebody in your family who's into business, volunteer with them and say that, okay, can I, this is what I'm studying in school. I learned about how training assessments can be done. Can I venture in and can I help you out to, plan something for you? So that is like, there are different ways that you can gain experience. So in learning and development, I look after the learning and development for my family business. And I feel I enjoy it the most for my family business because I know my business in and out. And that helps me to, even curate the content in a more effective manner. And apart from that, I feel during my course, I use this magic numbers of some of my students here, they would remember. So I put 369 on the board whenever I meet my students. So I have 3 degree programs that I finished over the span of 6 years, and I did 9 internships. So the concept of 3 to 9, the square, that's how Sci Square happened for me. That you don't just have to double up your potential, you have to square it. So wherever you are, increase your knowledge and potential to the power of square, and that will really help you in every way. And doing different internships, doing different work experiences really puts you out there and realize what kind of people you want to work with and what kind of people you do not want. And then once you get in close with the people you don't want to work with, you realize what kind of boss you never want to be in your life. So taking different internships made me realize what kind of boss I want to be for my own organization. And that's how Sci Square was inspired, that I wanted to create something I could not find for myself. Like during Chandigarh, there was a big struggle of finding people who were in the industry who could inspire me to tell about psychology and OB. And so I somehow created what I wanted for myself, and I think I'm trying to reach out to as many young psychologists who want to pursue it. And if there's any glitch, and I'm going to help you out, whether it's organizational behavior or research. So just keep leveling up your skills, and you'll do a great job.
Thank you, Shivangi. Thanks, Anmol, as well. I think you guys have really pointed out the top fields. Just for everybody, I think the way I look at OB and the careers, so for me, I usually note down like 6 or 7 that I know are really prominent in the field. So one of them is learning and development that Anmol and Shivangi both work in some capacity. And then you have training and coaching, which is usually with senior leadership, and you're training and coaching them, or you're delivering trainings. And you usually deliver trainings for different kind of reasons, right? So it could be personality, or it could be some specific topics, or it could be for organizational change. Then you have the third field, which is called organizational change and development. So OC and OD is a field that is really close to my heart. Organizational change is something that almost relates to transformation of an organization. So this can happen when organizations are undergoing a merger and acquisition, there is a change in leadership, or there are things that are changing in the organization. So you need somebody specific, or you need a specialist to help manage that change. And you want somebody to be there who can almost make sure that everybody is going with the change together. Nobody's feeling left behind. Nobody has any anxiety around it. There is proper strategies in place to help people out in terms of their pensions, their job security, making sure that they're all right, their families are all right. So a lot of change management and development is happening in India, and I think that is really nice. So that was one of the fields that I was really interested in. Then you have research, obviously, like Shivangi also pointed out. Research is something that is a very, very close field to all aspects of psychology, whether it's clinical counseling or OB. A lot of people tend to go into research. You can take up a MSc degree, then you can do a PhD degree, work as a professor, a lecturer, and then you can do specific projects with organizations. So an example would be what Shivangi mentioned, the one she did with Hyatt and Marriott, was it?
Married, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think that is really interesting. And if you're interested in research, if you're not afraid of statistics, if numbers are your thing, definitely look at research. If you want to teach students, definitely look at that. So that's another field. And then you have these niche fields that I really wanted to pick up on. So what I do, I'm a psychometrician. We design psychometric tests. So I don't know how many of you might have applied to a lot of companies here or abroad. You're usually given a personality test. When they'll ask you questions about your personality, or you're given situational judgment test. So they'll give you a situation and they'll ask you, what will you do in this situation? Or interviews, or for example, aptitude tests. So when they measure your verbal analysis, numerical analysis. So I design those tests, and I also consult clients and companies on how to use these tests in their processes. So that is what we do, that is what I do with my company. And I think it is really interesting field, because that is something that you usually don't think about, especially when you are in an Indian setting. So consultant is a word that you don't usually associate with psychologists in India, but in the UK or anywhere else abroad, consultancy is what you get into first thing when you get into OB. So I do talent assessment, talent management, and consulting clients. So it's almost like management consulting. We have clients from all over the world. So we have clients in Dubai, US, Australia, New Zealand, and we have different kind of needs and wants that they come up with. So, for example, somebody will come to us and say, you know what, our senior leadership is changing. Our CEO just changed. It's leading to a lot of upheaval in the organization. People don't know how to react. People don't trust him. What do we do? So then we start organizing some training sessions. We'll do focus groups. We'll see what the people are thinking. Then we'll design some questionnaires around it. We'll design some psychometric tests. Then we'll administer those tests. But we don't do the logistics. So we only supply, and we only tell the companies how to use them. But we are not the HR people who will handle the logistics, or who will handle the doing of these things. We just apply our tools. So you can get into that. Something really interesting that I'm really excited to share is ergonomics. I don't know how many of you have heard of it. Ergonomics is a field where you actually work with a lot of organizations that are in high risk areas. For example, you work with aviation industry, or you'll work with oil and gas industries, and you look at how some of the human errors can lead to massive tragedies. So, or oil spills in the Atlantic Ocean, or a lot of airlines whose planes crash. Usually these cases happen because there was some human error or some human fault that occurred. So as ergonomists, you kind of work with the organization and see where is the capacity for that human error to occur, and you try to minimize that. So something really interesting. Then you have things like architecture psychology that you can do as a part of being OB psychologist. So you look at how workspaces are designed and how you can design them to an optimal level. And then you have specific things like culture management. So you will manage the culture of the organization. A lot of organizations that I would suggest people to look at is Zappos, Google. So these companies they have a unique culture. They're really different from other companies. So you can work with them and kind of see how to create that culture, how to maintain that culture. What is the advantages of that? How are people perceiving it? So I think really interesting fields there. The only way to understand it completely is to really do your research, to really look at different job titles. Don't get confused in job titles, because one thing that is really silly almost is in India, organizational psychologists are called organizational behavioral psychologists, or they are called L&D professionals or HR. In the UK, it's called organizational or occupational psychologists. In the US, they are called industrial psychologists. So it's the same title, it's the same job, but it's called different names. So don't get confused with titles, but actually ask people what they're doing, and what their job descriptions look like, because that will help you make a decision to what you want to do. Don't get muddled with job titles and what they're called as much.
Right. Thank you so much. I think the way all three of you have put in the perspective as far as the careers of OB HR psychology is concerned, I'm so sure that no one is really ever going to really forget that bit. And I am really hoping that you people are noting it down. Now, I have this question for again Shivangi and Sakshi. And in this question, I remember while having the mock session, two of them were almost furiated. They were like, "Whoa, don't ask this question." And I'm sure they know what question is coming on their way. So the question is, as every student asks, and I'm sure somebody in the chat has also asked, that what is the difference between MBA HR and what is the difference between an industrial OBHR psychologist? A lot of people have this question. We all face this problem. So we need an academic viewpoint from you, Shivangi ma'am, because you've done MBA as well. You've also done, of course, the HR psychology, and also the practical view from the both of you, Shivangi and Sakshi. I know Anmol also really wanted to add to the perspective, because, but the furiousness in Sakshi was way more than Anmol, so we thought that let's ask both of them instead. All right, so please go ahead.
Sakshi, why don't you go ahead and start?
Oh, Shivangi. Okay, I'm gonna lead with a bad example, but so I think as psychologists, everybody's asked the question, "Can you read my mind?" For me, being asked the question, "What is the difference between HR and psychologist?" is even more infuriating, and that is the fact because so what I struggled with when I chose to do my OB was that everybody wanted to call me an HR person, and guys, HR is so different from OB. Like HR is more to deal with policies, how employees are doing, well-being, how you're strategically placed in an organization, what are the different aspects within the business that you can focus on, and then you look at employees. Whereas OB is more behind the scenes, it's more about learning and development. It's more to do with psychometrics, research-based field. So these are really two different spheres. Usually, OB consultants are not in-house, so they are not employed by the organization. They sit externally, and then for every job that you need, so for example, you need to do a training, you will ask an OB or you'll ask a consultant to come to your company and do it. So it's more of a contractual basis. OB consultants work with very different companies. So in my lifetime of my career till now, I have worked with more than 30 plus companies. And I've only been with this job since 6 months now. So I've worked with 30 plus companies already. So we work with different companies. HR could be in-house, and they would almost look at only one company, the company that has employed them, and they would look at their policies and their change and how to recruit people, how to get new talent in. So these are really two different things, right? What I did not wanted to do was being called an HR when I was not qualified to be an HR. What I did also not want to do is wanting to go into OB and then keep being pushed into being an HR person. So I remember everybody telling me, you know what, if you want to be an OB, you need to do an MBA HR. And I was like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I need to prove some people wrong. And that is why Bhumika really properly said that it's almost infuriating. It's almost like asking a person, can you read my mind? No, we cannot. It's not astronomy. It is not. It is not something like a hocus pocus. It is definitely a science. So I think there really needs to be like an education and difference around how to go about HR and OB. That being said, I know a lot of you are confused, and completely makes sense to be confused at this point. The best way to think about is one, look at the example that I've just given, and second, look at the modules. So when you apply for a course, HR course would look very different from an OB course. OB will have assessment centers, learning, training, coaching, well-being. It will have research methods, and then HR will have more of policies, management, finances, talent management, recruitment cycles. So these are really two different kind of courses. And I'm sure Shivangi will be able to explain better. And last thing, doing an MBA is a really life-changing course, and I'm sure Shivangi will agree with that. MBA is a life-changing course. There is a reason why a lot of people say only do it after 5 years of work experience, because then you really get to understand what you needed to do to understand all those subjects in depth. In the UK, in the US, you're not even allowed to apply for an MBA unless you have 5 years of experience. Correct me if I'm wrong, Shivangi, but at least that's the case in the UK. Like top B schools, you cannot apply without having at least 5 years of work experience. And there's a reason behind that, because that course is so life changing. And once you get into that course, after you have all the knowledge of where you are short, what your shortcomings are, what your strengths are, you get more out of that course. So definitely think of an MBA, but I would suggest first explore the fields and opportunities that are available to you in your own field, in your own degree, and then go forward and then think of an MBA. If that's not a case, if that's something that you absolutely cannot wait to do your MBA and you cannot wait to get your MBA degrees, then definitely reach out to people like Shivangi who have done it and who knows both sides of it, who have seen the pros and cons of it, and they can help you understand if it's the right time for you to do an MBA degree or not. But I'll leave it with Shivangi now to kind of guide you guys better on why to do it. But I've given my 2 cents on why not.
Great. Thank you, Sakshi. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question, and I don't feel like crazy about it that when people ask me the difference, I take it as an initiative to educate more people about it, because the more people who know about it, it's better for even us. So to define it in plain terms, an MSc Psychology is a specialization specifically in psychology and organizational behavior, where your main focus is understanding how employees, what emotions they feel, what kind of behaviors are productive, what are unproductive, and how training and learning and development can help them reach their potential. So an MSc Psychology is understanding only from the employee's perspective. But while an MBA is a more broad field in the general business sense. So in MBA, you understand like what tasks and initiatives, or what is the ground reality that you need to run a business. It's about people, but it's more of it as an organization. So if I have to compare it in simple terms, an MBA HR is more about the people, and the MSc Psychology is more about the people, and an MBA HR is more about the organization. The route I took in my career was that I wanted to specialize in the field of psychology and then move into a broad term, because being an entrepreneur has always been on my mind since I was a kid. And I had started volunteering and working with nonprofits at the age of 14. So by the time I had reached to my MBA, I was looking for a more of an experience as a boot camp. So the MBA program that I did was very different from the regular two-year MBA or the executive education MBA that is popular in India and abroad. My program was more of, understanding local businesses, problems, and then finding research-driven solutions. So it was only a 13-month program, and in which there were participants from over 11 countries. So I wanted that global perspective in my management. And that's how I was inspired to move to the US and do my MBA. So I had admissions available even in India. I had got into Xavier's and I got into TIS also. But then I wanted to really push my limits and take a big leap and move from India to the global platform. And having learned OB at 2 levels, one at the India level, has really helped me realize, because being an Indian, you really want to understand about your own culture first. So that gave me a very good local perspective of how India is progressing towards understanding OB, and what are the cultural, I would not call barriers, but the cultural flavor India has to the OB perspective. So after studying OB in India and after doing a couple of internships and job roles in India, that really helped me shape my own venture. Like, this is how Indians work. This is how how as an organization it's going to work out. While being on the global perspective, you are exposed to such different learning initiatives, whether, it's learning from people from South Korea, it's learning from people from Australia, from US, from, I'd share an interesting experience. So I worked as a consultant for PayU. It's like a similar platform to PayPal and Paytm, but it's more focused on more of the developing countries, such as South America, and they're also in India for bits and pieces. And then, I had to travel from India to US, from US to Bogota, Colombia, and South America to realize that how people are different, but yet the same. I found such starking, comparison and similarities between how the South Americans are so similar to our working style, whether it's the cultural values or whether it's more of being a collaborative than an individualistic pattern. So that was my experience of understanding OB in India and as well as on the global platform. So that, I think, I'm trying to establish understanding about the difference and the similarities of both the programs through my own career journey, that you could take a different route, that you could study on a broader platform by doing a MBA school and then specializing into something as organizational behavior, or you could do a specialization first and then broaden your horizon. So I think it depends upon what career path you want to take. Whether if you're applying for a specific job, then a broader to specific connection would work for you. But if you're enterprising and you want to have your own entrepreneurship venture, or you want to be a consultant for different companies, then a specialized to general perspective would help you. So
Yep.
that's about
Yep.
Right. I think that again really adds to the perspective. Next question goes to Anmol and Shivangi. Could you please tell us what are the job prospects in India? Like, how are the things in India? So that next Sakshi would be able to take up that what are the job prospects in UK? So academy and this thing in India and in UK.
Yeah. So I would like to tell you that starting a career in OB or the OB in India is still a very specialized field. It's, as you know, that OB psychology is strategic in nature. So you will not. That's a harsh truth, but you will not get an entry level job in OB psychology in India. You have to start with an HR profile. That's what you, if you go by the LinkedIn profile of most of the people in this field, they start their journey with an HR profile, and then they move on into strategic roles of OB, where they do leadership development or they do organizational development or culture transformation. So that is the line if you want to go into the corporate world. Other fields is research and academia that most of them choose. And according to the UGC latest UGC recommendation by 2021, you might need a PhD to be an assistant professor or work as a researcher in the top universities in India. So these are the two fields where you can start with, and that's how it works in India, according to what as in my experience is.
All right. What's your perspective on this, Shivangi?
So yeah, absolutely. I think we were the second batch of the MSc program that had ventured into finding internships for ourselves while we were doing this program. And I was also part of the placement team of my master's program. And we realized that a lot of people still confuse HR and OB, as we've pointed out in our previous question, and finding opportunities that specifically link us to OP profiles is a challenge in India. While on the other hand, there are a lot of new startups, especially around Bangalore and Gurgaon, that are specially venturing into people analytics and talent management. And if you are able to find yourself an internship into such startups, I think that's a great stepping stone for it, because not only these companies from day one introduce your role as a learning and development specialist or a training head, all of these stuff, but then your growth in a startup is tremendous, rather than venturing into a big name company and working as an HR associate. Then sometimes it's becoming challenging to shift from a HR role to a OB. So take up HR role only if you are comfortable doing tasks such as recruitment and hiring and all that process. But if not, I think why not give startups a chance and work with these budding startup organizations that are diving into the people management and talent management culture in India. One of the company I can think on top of my head, which is really the best working in OB in India as of now, is 24/7. They have their offices in Bangalore and Gurgaon, and they're doing some tremendous job in bringing up these new roles. So
Right.
that would be my take.
Yes, 24/7, and even Metal, I believe, is really into psychometrics, so that's also pretty famous in India right now.
I think that's the Mercer channel, right?
Yes,
Mercer
yes.
Corporation, yeah.
Exactly. So I think as far as exposure is concerned, yes, I agree that it's a little limited, but reaching out to startups, or as ma'am very rightly mentioned, we should always look out to organizations. Something as simple as Hotel also provided with an internship or a project, research project. So wherever you see an organization, see a scope of you doing your work, even something in as simple as school or hospital. Yeah. All right, and I think we've done with Indian perspective. What about you? What do you think is the perspective in UK right now? And I'm sure it's good, but what do you think, Sakshi?
Yeah, definitely. I think in the UK it's slightly different. So first things, when you do a master's degree in the UK, so either you're going for organizational psychology, occupational psychology, or you're going for an HR. They're going to be different things. Then within OB as well, there are different kind of different degrees. So either you could do OB with technology, you could do OB with cognitive science, you could do OB with psychiatry. So really different fields, extremely important, guys. If you're applying to somewhere abroad, you really need to know what you're going to do, and you really need to do your research and check the modules are the papers that you're going to read and study within the course. Make sure you know what modules you're going to be doing, because otherwise you will find yourself in a course that's not meant for you. So definitely check that out. Having said that, in the course that I did, that was named Organizational and Occupational Psychology, when you're doing the course, you will have a lot of opportunities to do internships. And again, depends where you want to go. Do you want to go for change management? Different kind of internships available. So here, we basically have a lot of organizations, big ones like Unilever, Rolls-Royce, Royal Bank of Scotland. So all the big organizations that you know or that you've heard of, they always have an internship program, or a school leavers program, or a graduate program. And then you have smaller companies in each city that offer internships, or they offer opportunity to shadow. So we can actually go to the offices and look at people doing their work and understand from that. So definitely make sure that you're into that and you're taking up different roles. So while I was in India, I never really did any internships. I was always into doing my own startups and doing some research work that I did in my college. But when I came to the UK, I did 2 or 3 research projects, and I did 2 or 3 internships, really different ones. So I did one in research, I did one just as a project, I did my master's thesis, which was a massive undertaking in itself. So I think really a lot of opportunities, but you need to be really sure what you're getting into once you're applying abroad, because you could really find yourself in a different course if you just go by the title. After you have done your studies, again the same thing. So the things are divided as going into talent management or talent acquisition, change management, or you can get into recruitment. So I think these are the 3 top fields that you get into in the UK, at least. Talent management and consultancy is the biggest. There are a lot of companies like Savile, SHL, Cubix, PSI, all these companies that look for fresh graduates each year. So most of my classmates, they got employed different places in the world, actually. And then you have bigger companies who have roles like people analysis, like Google does, or you have people operations like Mercer, Aon, and Unilever, or then you have recruitment graduates like Royal Bank of Scotland, Deutsche Bank. So all these like different organizations will have different roles. Again, depending on you, what kind of career you want to have, which field you want to go into, you can get into one of these fields. But these opportunities are really easily available here. And apart from the fact that you need to take care of your visa and stuff, that is a different battle. The opportunities itself are very readily available as long as you know what you want to do.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Thank you so much for again giving perspective in all the, especially India and overseas, and especially UK. Of course, we could not cover the entire overseas thingy. Next, moving on, we'd want to understand difference between the coach, the counselors, and the mentors at the workplace. Can I still be a counselor at the workplace even if I have an OB psychology degree, right? Or can I still do a mental health? Can I still be a mental health practitioner? So this is what I'd want to understand from for the behalf of students from Anmol and Shivangi. Could you give us a quickly crisp answer, because we're running a lot out of time and we'd miss out on a lot of questions. So we'll just quickly cover up these questions now. Just a
Yeah.
very brief difference.
Yeah. So if I talk about counseling, mentoring, and coaching, so
Yeah.
see, mentoring is a platform where you give training to a person who is having a skill deficit. For example, I am mentoring a person so that I have a higher knowledge or competency in that particular subject. So the relationship between in the mentoring relationship, you are at a higher level than your mentee. So it can be any field like digital marketing. If I'm an expert in digital marketing, then I can mentor anyone who wants to be in that field. So this is a broad set of mentoring where you tell the other person that you have to do this because I have an expertise. Secondly, going to counseling. So as you know, counseling is more of a clinical or a counseling dimension involved in counseling. So you ask the person about their problem they are facing at workplace. And to give a deeper prospect in this, counselors only work at the emotional level of a client. Okay, so this is the main dimension of counseling. In coaching, you ask the problem of the sorry. You ask the solution from the other person. And in coaching setting, the coach is does not look at the emotional level, but he or she looks at a higher thought level. Where the emotions are coming from.
The cognitive
And
level, definitely.
yeah, and the level of coachee and coach are at the same level, and the solution will come from the coachee himself or herself. Coach does not provide any solution to that. They only provide a framework. So in a gist, I would like to say, you in the mentoring relationship, you tell them what to do. In counseling relationship, you ask them what is their problem. And in coaching relationship, you ask the solution from the person. So these are as in the just gist of the difference
Sure, sure,
in
sure.
this
So, Shivani ma'am, if you could tell us briefly, can with this psychology degree, I can go ahead and do a behavioral counseling per se, or should I need to have a pure counseling degree or clinical degree for that, for the therapy
I
bit?
think, speaking from the US perspective, and also a lot of organizations in India are looking for a specific certification known as EAP, which is the Employee Assistance Program credential. So there are two routes to it. If you are into a counseling background, you can achieve that credential and become a counselor at workplace. Or even if you're an organizational psychologist and you want to venture into counseling, getting that credential will help you achieve that counselor job.
Right. So, I think it's important for you to consider that what is your end goal is, because I'm sure if you end up going in one field, it gets a little difficult for you to make a comeback in the other one. So it's always ideal that initially only, like as Richard is also very rightly asking, that what should I go for? So I think, Richard, that's a little longer process. We need to sit and decide with you what's your personality type, what's your interest type. We'd make you do certain internships. Based on these things, it becomes ideal for us to decide what specialization should you be pursuing, so that towards the end we're not confused if I can still do counseling, if I can still stick to OB. So that's where the confusion elimination needs to be done beforehand. All right. Now, this question goes for Sakshi and Shivangi. What are again, very crisp, what are the pros and cons in this field? And if you could also add a little bit of monetization aspect in this as compared to HR.
So I think the three pros that for me were the biggest pros in the field. One, you get to work with different organizations. I do not like anything that is monotonous, that is single tone, or that does not change. So I get to work with different organizations, and when you're working with um, different kind of organizations, you need different experience, or you need to know about different things as well, rather than just knowing about psychology. So I think I enjoy that a lot. So first is that. Second, you get to be in consulting, which is something that I really enjoy. I work as an advisor for a lot of startups as well. So I think advisory and consulting requires a special kind of skill set. You need to be able to form your sentences really quickly, really easily. You need to be able to be really agile and think of clients' needs and what are they going to respond to. So I think that is something that you get to enjoy. And I think third thing, and touching on the aspect of monetization, uh, so abroad, clinical and counseling psychologists make a lot of money. I'm not gonna lie, but it's more than that, because with organizational psychology you can do a lot of other things, like be a part of startups, look at different strategizing options. Once you want to diversify your career and your field, you can go in management consulting, strategic consulting. You can look at change management officers. You can work with the government. So I think really different kind of way that I look at monetization of my field. I think that is a question that you really need to ask yourself much later in your life, because once you start doing something and once you start getting a hang of it, then you realize if you're actually good at it, what you need to do to improve yourself, and then you can start branding yourself, branding your own business maybe, or really making a mark in your own organization to monetize yourself. So I think something that you should be really thinking about much later, when once you've actually been into the field and you've made sure that you have invested in yourself first. A couple of cons that are not really cons for me, but you know, come up for a lot of people is one. You need to be really quick, and sometimes you need to travel a lot. I felt that I've always need to be on my toes and really travel and go to different places. I enjoy that, but that is a con for most people. And what else? I really can't think of any cons. To be honest, it is a field like any other. It has its ups and downs, good days and bad days. If you don't think that you're the right person, talk to people or look at different options. But I would just again say, don't get into a field without knowing what it can entail, because that would be really not disastrous, but something that will definitely waste your time and resources.
So I'll keep it short to keep it in time. I'll just list a pro and a con. For pro for me would be that there's a lot of diversity in the kind of work that you do with the different kinds of cultures. So especially on a global platform, you're able to realize that you're able to impact a lot of people and organizations at the same time. And a con for me would be not really a con, like once you're passionate about what you do, you take it as a package. The con is that I think it's convincing people to invest into change management and talent management. I think that's the only glitch. Telling business owners that if you invest into this is how it's going to be profitable for you. So that's a really long route. But I feel like once you start working with people, they feel the importance of organizational behavior, especially in the times of Corona, where the entire workforce has moved online. So I was doing another webinar last week, and then somebody asked, that what is engagement? That how do you maintain engagement during the times of Corona? So I had shared this, and I would like to share it here as well. It is the emotional commitment that you're able to make between the employee towards its company. That we are all working from home, but how many hours do you really invest into? Out of those 8 hours is that engagement level that you can create. So I think blessing in disguise, Corona is increasing the importance of OB psychologists and OB professionals all around the world. So we're in good demand. That's a big pro.
Right. And I don't, so again, pros and cons is something I won't be able to list out, but I'm sure for a lot of employees, there's so many pros. One good pro for lately what happened is 4 working days. So Yeah, I'm sure most of us would be really happy about that, the 4 working days concept. All right. The next question is why are the forms that you've gotten? So, Anmol, this question is for you. Why do most job or entry level jobs of fresh graduates ask for 1 to 3 years of average experience from university students when they are hardly having any internships available? How will students graduating get jobs?
So yeah, so as I mentioned earlier also, Bhumika, that so the OB level jobs require a lot of strategic decisions. That requires a lot of people, and in terms of monetization also, a lot of money from the company. So a company does not trust a fresher initially to give him or her a role in OB. So that's why we have in India, I would say that we have to start with an HR role only. Otherwise, what you can do, as Shivangi said, that you can join the startups and work as a consultant, where you will be given some strategic roles in OB psychology field, where there you can work with big firms, as I did with one of the I developed the OD intervention for one of our clients, Lenscart, working in a small startup. So this is the way, if you want to work in an OB psychology, or doing an internship and finding them is that is very limited in India, I would say. But you can do some online courses for that in the specialized field, and the startups are willing to take you if you have the skills and competencies that suits the role.
The next question goes for Shivangi. Is it easy to shift from clinical psychology to this field? What are the important steps or courses and examples of company which hire OB psychologists?
Um, to shift from clinical to organization, are we talking more about how clinical psychologists can work into OB?
Maybe, yes, clinical and counseling psychologists, yes.
So, as Sakshi mentioned, there is a combination between OB and psychiatry, and the combination between OB and counseling is through EAP. So,
Yeah.
EAP is the Employee Assistance Program certification that you can get, and then you can register yourself as a consultant in the EAP. There are different companies that do
Right,
that.
right, right.
So I would say that clinical perspective in OB is really helpful because addressing clinical disorders in the workplace setting helps to increase the productivity of the employee. Whereas in like the same employee referring to a different clinical psychologist will be there will be a mixed approach of a personal and
Right.
professional clashing. But when you address clinical issues in an organizational setting, it's more employee focused, it is more productivity focused. So I think it is not very popular whether it is in India or abroad, but I think it's an upcoming field for sure.
Yes, and I would also like to add one perspective to this, that if you are from a counseling background, especially, now you know that there's so many things to deal with. Something, for example, what is going on these days can add to a lot of stress for a lot of people out there. The work-life balance bit is there, career development bit is there. Then there could be a family problem, there could be a relationship issue, there could be an issue which is related to a personality that they cannot go ahead and talk to people. So that's where it's not abnormal, rather it's more of a normal day-to-day issue where even counseling psychologists can come in and address to a proper corporate counseling setup. So again, EAPs, which is employment assistance programs, is a way to go about it. And refer to is human dynamics that you can check out. And even if you are from clinical and counseling setup, you can still go ahead with working with companies like 24/7, companies like Metal. I know a very close friend of mine who's come from a typical counseling psychology background and has gone into career development, who has gone into building up of psychometrics. So yes, you can definitely do that transition. But if you're coming from a typical OB field, that's why you will need to take certifications in counseling bit if you really need to get into the corporate counseling method. The next question is from Richard, and he's from Dubai. He says that he, in fact, asks that he's going to graduate from HRM in a few weeks. he's had an amazing profile. However, he's not being able to find ample internships or even employment opportunities. So, is there any advice that you would like to give him? That's for you, Sakshi.
Sure. Thank you for the question, Richard. Bhumika showed me a question initially when we were just talking about it, and I realized you did write that you have an amazing LinkedIn profile, and I think kudos for that. I think really you will have an upper hand the fact that you are very well connected and networking, and making sure that your LinkedIn is up to date. I understand the fact that despite having amazing profiles and doing everything that you can, you sometimes are not able to get internships, right? What I would suggest is don't be afraid to do something that is different or that is not typical. Don't be afraid to do internships that are not typically in the psychology background. When you're looking, and I'm assuming, so yes, you are in Dubai. A lot of companies here will never ask you for internships in psychology. They will just ask you what you have learned, right? And you need to show them how you can transfer what you have learned within their field. So what I did when I applied for my company, I never did an internship in psychology. I had a startup in artificial intelligence. I had a social service project and an NGO in India. I had research projects. I did different courses that were not related to psychology. They were law or they were coding. So nothing that I did was related to psychology. I was working as a social media manager for Twitter. So I think you just need to show them that these are the skills that I learned. Skills like communicating well, networking well, being able to work in a team, being able to collaborate, being able to understand what is strategy, how to assess risks. So understand what the company wants, understand good interviewing skills, and then make sure that you're able to show that you're able to transfer those skills from what you have already done and achieved. You don't, and I did a webinar on this a couple of days ago, and that's what I mentioned, that you don't need to have amazing profiles, honestly, and sometimes you don't even need to have relevant experience, but you just need to have some kind of experience and be able to talk about it and share it in a way that makes an impact. So I think definitely learn those skills. Those skills are going to stay with you for a very long time. Um, and then you also mentioned how to get a job, first job after graduating. First thing, do your research. If you're in Dubai, look at, and you want to get a job in Dubai, look at the job sectors, look at how jobs are divided, how the companies hire and take up graduates. Do a quick LinkedIn search, connect with your alumni, see what they're doing, get some background info. I think the second step is to start applying, but then having a plan on how you want to apply. Make yourself very focused. Make sure that you're only applying to jobs that are relevant for you, because it's a very tiresome process. I applied to 150 companies. And it was not because not having a skill will not get you a job. Sometimes it's also the fact I had issue of a visa. I'm an international student, so getting a visa was really tough for me. So even though I was getting a lot of job offers, I was not getting a lot of visa sponsorships. So you have your own challenges, right? So make sure that you know what your challenges are and how you're going to target them. Only apply for jobs that are relevant for you. Have plan Bs. It's good to have plan Bs, but don't try to do too much so that you lose your focus. And I think third thing, make sure that you network well. A lot of networking has really helped me on the way, connecting with the right people, asking some tips, getting an insight, getting an edge in interviews from other people. So definitely some tips there. And good luck. I'm sure that something great will turn up, and I'm sure we all are always happy to connect and help you out there.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And again, somebody has asked that this person has gotten through an MSc Occupational and Business Psychology program. So for you, this person is asking how can he or she give a kick to his career. So in that case, I'd suggest right now that you're sitting at home, there are a lot of online internships, a lot of certificates from Coursera, Udemy, edX. Please start doing these certificate courses, start connecting with people on LinkedIn. Whichever university you're going to, start talking to their alumnus, start understanding what is the experience that they've had, start getting in touch with the faculty members over there. understand what is their area of interest. So start networking, start doing certification programs, and if there's any online internship, you can pick up with that, so that before you go ahead with September course, you're not wasting any of your time. And somebody has asked, can a student pursuing a master's degree in psychology with OB specialization can become a career counselor? Yes, 100%. So, despite the fact you're coming from a counseling background, a clinical background, OB background, you can definitely venture into career counseling. So, career counseling, yes, you need to understand psychometrics. You need to understand the way of dealing with the client. A lot of things are, revolving around that. The way you coach, the way you mentor, the way you plan the action plans, the way you motivate. So these are certain skills that you need, but there's no such degree or specialization that you would need to become a career counselor. Yes, there are organizations like NCDA. You also have a lot of certification programs going in India. So do preferably take up those certifications. Next, we have this question: pay scales in India and Canada. Anybody would want to answer that bit? Pay scale in India and Canada.
So what pay scale for what?
I think it's OB psychology only.
I think Canada and Shivangi, correct me if I'm wrong, but Canada and UK and US starting salaries are really similar. Um, you could be earning anywhere between £30,000 to £45,000 as starting salary in the UK. Very similar in Canada, slightly higher in the US. You
Yeah.
spend a lot in the US definitely as well, so I'm sure that they're paying you more. So yes, definitely higher in the US. I'm not sure about India.
Okay. For US, I think the starting salary is around $65,000, and it can go up to anywhere to $200,000, especially for the people who have a PhD in cognitive sciences, because when they get into tech jobs in Google and Facebook, like the UX researcher or the cognitive specialist at these organizations are easily making 150 to 200K per year. In India, I've had a brief time in India working as an OB. So if you're from like a good college, like a top B school as well, if you're venturing into OB or HR, so anywhere above 10 lakhs will be a good starting package. And as you progress towards a OD consultant or independent one, so it depends upon the kind of projects and the number of projects you can take. The course, whether it's anywhere in the world, the amount of time it takes to become like a change leader or a talent management leader is anywhere between 10 to 12 years. And while you progress to that level, obviously your income level gradually levels up. So yeah, from a monetizing perspective, it's really promising all across the world.
Right. So there's this one last question that we'll be taking up. Again, if I need to get more into HR fields, so is MBA a better degree to go ahead with, or OB psychology a better degree to go ahead with? Shivangi, ma'am, could you take up that question since you've been through both the degrees? So what would you
Yeah,
say there?
so what I learned with HR is that HR, whichever country you do it in, whether it's US or India, it's more policy driven, learning about the government policies of the employee benefit program or the remuneration program, from recruiting, hiring, training, all of that. So it is more of an operational job that you're working with the nitty gritty of the organization, that as a HR, your role is to find the best people, retain the best people, and progress with the best people. While on the OB background, I think a lot of HR professionals also shift to OB India later on because they don't want to get involved in the day-to-day mundane tasks of recruiting. So I think we have a very good perspective right now that we are aware about OB. So it depends whether you want to start doing OB from day one of after you've graduated, that you want to work into the learning and development, or you want to work into the change management or building strategies for company and people analytics. So it's more of a personal choice. Like I have friends who are HR business partners, and I have friends who are OB partners or change consultants. So I think you have to take your own take on that, that whether you want to have a routine or whether you want to experiment. So I think that would be.
Totally, totally. So I believe we've answered almost all the questions in the chat. However, there's certain people who have asked to reach out individually because you people had very specific questions related to your own courses, your own interests. So when that is there, I think it gets a little difficult to answer those questions on public portal. We definitely love to address to those questions separately because I believe that will take good 1 hour of discussion,
Yeah.
and we'll definitely get back to you. You have all our LinkedIn accounts. You also have our mail IDs. LinkedIn accounts, yes. You have our mail ID. And this was such an insightful, such an amazing session. Also, a lot of question. People had this question whether India is better, whether overseas is better. Again, it comes to a very, very personal dynamics. It comes to what the family is also really willing to go ahead with. Also, where are you willing to settle? Also, what your end goals are. So wherever you have specific questions, please feel free to reach out to me. If you have any question related to the profession, please feel free to reach out to their LinkedIn accounts. If you have any sort of internship or online program to take, please reach out to SciSquare as well.